Welcome everyone to this follow-along class dedicated to alignment. We're going to start with some joint prep. So standing on all four, start mobilizing your wrists by transferring the weight from one hand to the other and changing the angle in your hands. So your fingers are going to be facing different walls as you go from one arm to the other. In the process, pay already attention to the way the weight changes as you perform that motion, and try to keep your hands shoulder width with your elbows straight. This is going to be helpful for your handstands. Also note that we're trying to roll the hand from the fingertips all the way to the heel of the hands. That's the base of the hand, instead of just placing them flat on the ground. Next, we're going to rotate out our hands, thumbs facing outwards, and lean back with our butt towards our heels to provide some form of stretch in the forearms. You want to perform this dynamically rather than just holding the stretch. Back on all four, we're going to perform what we call scapular push-ups. Here, you want to stack your shoulders over your hands, and more specifically, your first knuckles, keeping your elbows very straight. We're going to round the upper back and then bring the shoulder blades back together. So that's protraction and what we call retraction. Try to keep your shoulders over them first knuckles. You'll see it's important. From that same position, we're going to try to make big circles with, let's say, the rib cage. You can let the neck loose to warm it up as well. Try just as much as before to keep the shoulders over the hands. Next, we're gonna ramp things up and go into our plank. Look at the way the shoulders are still stacked over the hands. And we're performing our scapular push-ups from there. They're quite quick there. You can take more time in doing so and maybe split the whole set in two subsets. Now in this video, we're going to take the time to study a few concepts, and we're going to start with chest to the wall technique. One common pitfall when we go chest to the wall is to just hold it as long as possible until we collapse miserably back on the floor. And instead, you want to use every opportunity you have being against the wall to improve your technique. Here's an example of what I usually see in my classes. People go against the wall and then their legs are all wobbly. Their head keeps moving towards the wall and back in between the hands as they try to tap into more shoulder flexion. We don't have quite the same stack we had just before of the shoulders over the hands. None of that is going to work freestanding. This is not replicating what a handstand is going to be in your journey. First things first, let's talk about that first stack. You want to ensure that the shoulders are over the first knuckles, just like they were in your scapular push-ups. We're gonna go for 15 solid seconds. Set yourself against the wall and set the first stack. Feel how much heavier your hands become when your shoulders are over the center of your hands. On the contrary here, I'm going to be leaning back towards the wall and see how that axis changes. And you don't want that, because you will grow more dependent on the wall if you do so. Then let's talk about tension. We want to squeeze our legs together so that our body becomes as silent as possible. So we're going to go back chest to the wall. We're going to take the first step, which was to stack the shoulders over the hands, and then second step, we're going to squeeze our legs together as hard as possible. This is meant for us to be less wobbly. This is what we kind of tend to do at first. This is what we want to be doing eventually. And the reason for that being, when we kick up in a handstand and we are all wobbly, the wobbliness will create movement, parasite movements that will take you off balance. So let's go back chest to the wall. Our shoulders are still going over the first knuckles, and this time we're going to squeeze our feet, our heels together to generate that silence. We go for 15 even cleaner seconds. Then let's talk about shoulder flexion, which is extremely important as well. The caveat with our first cue is that by bringing the shoulders over the first knuckles or the center of the hands, we sometimes tend to close a bit the shoulder angle to perform shoulder flexion. A handstand has to be driven through your shoulder flexion. We're gonna go for a shorter set of only 10 seconds, but we're gonna try to make them perfect. We're gonna stack the shoulders, squeeze the legs like you were doing before, and try to open the shoulders more. That's this motion here on the screen, the shoulder flexion motion, so that your sternum is directly looking at the wall behind you, so that your trunk is completely parallel to the wall behind you. Let's go back to the wall after this heavy first half of the class. We're gonna kick up against the wall and try to land on the wall consistently, and even better, with softness. We are aiming at landing one foot and one foot only on that wall. If that's easy and you can do that, let's try to take off for 5 sets. So you have landed that foot, you're gonna lower the front leg to create your shape, your functional shape, and from here push on the fingers to take off from that wall. Then we're gonna try to land both feet on the wall, and using the wall, bring our butt on the wall and release our feet off the wall, and then feet back on the wall and butt off the wall. You may want to go for just one round trip. Something important here, when we are butt to the wall, we tend to twerk our way off the wall. Instead, you want to make sure, and this is how it looks like, right? We push on our bum, we change the hip angle, and it just won't carry over that much in a freestanding practice because, again, there will be too much movement. So to compensate for that and to correct that, we're going to land butt on the wall, feet very close to the wall, and gradually, at an even pace, lower the legs down. You will feel that invariably your butt is being peeled off the wall. And that's what you are aiming for when you want to be taking off that wall. We're gonna land, lower the legs at the point at which it was about to peel off the wall, stop there, and then push on the fingers to finish the job. That's what you want to be aiming for to understand really what is at play in your hand balancing. To finish, here's a spicer variation. We're gonna go back to one previous drill. Landing both feet on the wall, we're gonna take off, not pushing on the wall, you have understood why by now, and then try, as you are off the wall, to transition into your butt to the wall shape. And if you can, go back to your foot to the wall shape. This is not easy, so try that if you are a bit more advanced.